Oh, that reminds me, chat. Pixelsmixel appeared in the Juice Media's newest ad. I am so jealous. Congratulations to her, by the way. This is so based. I love Juice Media. This is so based. Like, legitimately, congratulations on this. This is a huge, like, crossover. 1000%. Hell yeah, Scottish Socialist. 1000%. Doomsday Cast, thanks for the tier 1. If Scotland became independent, my grandfather is Scottish born. I'm going back home, chat. I'm going home. I'm going back to the mountains of Scotland. I'm joining my people. All right. But only if they're independent. I don't want to go to the UK. All right, let's watch this.
Hello, I'm from the US government. No, not that. Or that. Your actual government, the Supreme Court. You know, the guys who brought you voter suppression, Citizens United, and this global terrorist, SCOTUS. Even at the best of times, SCOTUS gives zero fucks about democracy. We answer to nobody, we overrule laws made by Congress, our justices are appointed for life, and you don't even elect us. To be fair, you barely elect the people who do appoint us. But here we are.
Okay, you're a Highlander or a Lowlander? I think we're on the border, like the direct border of the Highlands and the Lowlands. So like pretty far north, but not like all the way in the hill. Not the all the way hill people.
Now that we finally have enough Federalist Society
technically we're Highlanders, but like barely.
Jobs on the bench, we'll be using this court's unchecked power to wrong some rights. Like the right for women to have no control over their own bodies, the right for kids to be indoctrinated at school, the next mass shooter's right to flaunt their weapon in public, and the right for...
This is how you know it was made in Australia. This is how you know it was made in Australia. This is like, what is this gun? If it was in America, you would have an AR, you'd have a real AR-15. This is plastic. It's plastic. It's solid. It's not a GR36. I don't know if after getting encoded on Twitch, you can tell. This is one solid piece of plastic.
Right to flaunt their weapon in public, and the right for polluters to kill even more of you in heat waves, floods, and fires. But we're only just getting started. In our next term, we'll decide if Republicans have the right to steal the next presidential election. That's right, we'll be ruling on the theory of independent state legislature. Independent state legislature is a judicial fart cooked up by these three bandits who helped steal the 2000 election in what's widely regarded as one of our shittest rulings ever. The theory proposes that during presidential elections, state legislatures have the power to ignore your votes and choose their own electors, which is handy if none of your favorite presidents have won the popular vote this century. And if state courts try to stop this shitfuckery by upholding their constitutions, the theory says SCOTUS should step in to decide the outcome of the election. Yep, just like what happened in 2000. History was almost repeated at the last election when El Duce asked us to use this very theory to invalidate your mail-in ballots in a bunch of swing states. Unfortunately, we didn't quite have the numbers to help him out back then. But now, we do. Trump 24. Brought to you by SCOTUS. Legal experts say it would be hypocritical of us to embrace a law with no constitutional basis after striking down this law for having no constitutional basis. But they overlook a key aspect of our jurisprudence. We don't give a shit. We're just here to impose our fucked up ideology. Lick our SCOTUS. What's that? How can you stop us? Well, introducing more justices and term limits would be a start, but that would require an actual majority in both the House and Senate. Better vote in those midterms. Might be the last free election you get. Failing that, you'll have to find a way to...
That's not going to happen. Even if the Democrats win beyond their wildest dreams, they're not going to expand the Supreme Court. They're not going to impose judicial term limits. They're going to do jack shit. It's only a matter of time. Like, I hate to be a bearer of bad news, man, but like we missed our shot with Bernie, and there's just no chance that Joe Biden or whoever wins in 2024 is going to do anything. Unless John Fetterman comes down out of the rafters of the Senate like a fucking WWE chance, like Ass Man from the Howard Stern movie. You guys, this is a reference only Gen X will know. You guys remember during the MTV, I think it was the Video Music Awards, when Howard Stern descended from the rafters as Ass Man? Do you guys remember this? Or Fart Man? It was Fart Man. Thank you. That is what John Fetterman is going to have to do for us to have a shot of you're really showing your age. Well, no shit. That's Gen X comedy in a nutshell. Truly it is. Sting drops from the Raptors. No, that's not what I want. Can someone? Okay, I have a mission. If any of you, if you want to create a WWE, here's what I want: create a Fetterman character in the WWE Raw video game and a Trump character, and see if you can engineer Fetterman coming out of the quarter with a steel chair. That will go viral. There's a viral tweet for you. There's a viral tweet for you. All right? Somebody do it.
To show us you're not going to stand for six
Ass Man with Seinfeld? Oh my God. Chat, it's Fart Man.
unelected pieces of shit rat fucking your democracy anymore. You know, general strikes, mass protests, all good things we've been working hard to outlaw. Until then, enjoy the ride as we take you back to 1787, or whatever this frat boy imagines that to be. Probably a cross between Handmaid's Tale and Beerfest. Whatever. Fuck you. SCOTUS! Authorized by the Department for Thinly Disguised Plans to Usher in a Theocratic Christian Regime.
Welcome to Season 3 of The Honest Government Ads. And thank you to all our patrons for supporting our...
Damn, that was... Pixel, honestly, that's so awesome. Legitimately awesome. Legitimately awesome. Congrats. Congrats. Yeah, go ahead and link her stuff, chat. Go ahead and link her stuff, mods. Christian nationalism? Oh, yeah. All right, chat, I want to show you something because it's kind of funny.
Fetterman took down the American flag in his office in the Capitol to put up the marijuana flag and the gay pride flag. Now, that might work at Berkeley. It would work at Yale. But if any of you who know Pennsylvania very well know that the idea that the next time a soldier goes in to rescue somebody, instead of showing them the American flag patch, they're going to show them the marijuana patch, tells you about as much about wokeness as you need to know.
I don't know if you've ever known an infantryman, but if you offered them a marijuana pouch with a marijuana patch, they would proudly wear that shit. You wrong, Newt.
And I think that Fetterman has to carry the burden, first of all, of being Fetterman, who's kind of nuts. Second, he has to, which in the Democratic Party means he's sort of a centrist. Second, he has to carry the burden of an enormous murder rate and crime rate in Philadelphia. And third, he has to carry the burden of a very anti-energy policy in Western Pennsylvania, which is the fourth largest producer of energy in the United States.
Now, is Western Pennsylvania getting big tax revenue from that? Nope. No severance tax. Not getting all that money gets sucked out and piped out to Texas and Oklahoma, and really goes to foreign shareholders. JW, nice. Glad you quit, man.
And then in the middle of the state, which is a very conservative area, which actually voted for Ralph Landon over Franklin Roosevelt, he's got to carry the burden of just being himself. So I'm going to go out on a limb here, and I hope Rick Scott's not going to be too unhappy with me. We will win the Pennsylvania Senate race. We will win it by a surprising margin. And
delusion.
For the foreseeable future, the marijuana flag will not fly at the U.S. Capitol. I know it's bold, but Fetterman...
By the way, this is a 30%. He's not even getting applause at the America First agenda. Even conservatives are like, really? We're still against marijuana? Is it fucking hopeless? They're fucking... I mean, like, John Fetterman actually knows how to run a campaign. They're fucked. But Mike, not a fan of John Fetterman's relentless trolling of Dr. Oz, now leading media to ask whether Fetterman can shitpost his way to the Senate. We need an inspiring progressive campaign built around issues that matter to people. This is not that. Absolute hall monitor energy. Absolute dipshit energy. Donald Trump won in large part because he was a troll. And John Fetterman is being a wholesome troll. He's not like being a toxic racist piece of garbage like Donald Trump. He's being funny, but doing so in an uplifting way and exposing the inauthenticity of his opponent while having a good campaign. John Fetterman was the left-wing choice in the Senate race. So give me a fucking break. By the way, chat, you know who was really anti-John Fetterman? You know who was really anti-John Fetterman? Like, virulently anti-John Fetterman. And then immediately went and did a vote split. Ha! Nomiki. Oh, no. Nomiki, what's going on, Nomiki? What happened? Not very good political instincts, I don't think. But, you know, you could be really smart but have bad political instincts, which is, it is what it is. I just think that, see, one of the biggest personality flaws that people have, and I learned this because, people that I'm very close to, older family members, have this personality flaw. So this isn't an attack on anyone specific, but let me just say the worst personality flaw I think for a person to have is the person who only keeps their own counsel. I consider that to be a gigantic personality flaw to the level of I don't know. I think it's the worst flaw. Instead of short of being outright malicious, not listening to other people makes you is just beyond terrible. Can I get your take on Chapo's thoughts on Fetterman? I'm a bit confused why they don't seem to like him. I think Chapo is kind of burned out on electoral politics, if I'm being honest. I think they're burned out. I think they got hurt by Bernie losing, and I think they're burned out. I like their analysis. I think they're smart guys, but I think a lot of what they said about Fetterman was right on the substance, which is he's no Bernie, right? And I think they like Fetterman. They just don't. He's just not a socialist. So you want the socialist podcast to lose their shit over a non-socialist? They're just not going to, And I don't know. I do think that there's a certain type of person, and I'm not saying that Chapo is necessarily this, and I'm definitely not this person, who is always trying to be too cool for the situation. And I think they were earnestly in favor of Bernie, and they lost, and they got hurt, and so they retreated back to their kind of earnest. They retreated away from being earnest and authentic. And, I think there's a belief that because Bernie lost, there is no way to win, right? And I think that is, quite frankly, overfitting and not materialist. People will say stuff like, the Cold War happened because of capitalism. And it's great man theory to think that FDR dying was what caused the United States to accelerate into the Cold War. And I don't think that's great man theory. I think that's legitimately FDR died. The coalition that he had united behind himself, because that's how politics works, was fractured due to him being gone. He represented a real strain of American politics and a real coalition. But when he died, that coalition ended and a new coalition asserted itself. And if he hadn't died, I don't think that coalition would have fractured at that point. Similarly, just because Bernie lost doesn't mean we can never win and it's hopeless. I just disagree with that. I refuse to think like that. Climate change? Curious as to why you have to fill your tank so often when you're not out on the campaign trail meeting with Pennsylvanians. Dude, you're literally from New Jersey. I bet you don't even know how to pump your own gas. Fetterman is a champion, man. All right, let's see. Have something that's pretty. You want to see something based? How come Pennsylvania just keeps winning, chat?
I think that it's all about two things. It's the players that are here currently, seeing how football wears on them, and then secondly the players that have came and gone, the medically retired players. I think of Journey Brown, who's my neighbor currently and one of my best buddies. The game was taken from him earlier than he expected, and it's tough for guys like that.
PA hasn't won since the steel mill closed decades ago. Okay, James, wait. Hey, California, who's your coolest congressperson? You have 55, so who's your coolest congressperson? Katie Porter, huh? Katie Porter, that's pretty good. Barbara Lee, that's okay. Summer Lee, it's over. I win. Democratic Socialist, I win. How come Pennsylvania's politics are better than yours? John Fetterman, you have Dianne Feinstein. Dianne Feinstein is more conservative than Bob Casey Jr. Your senator is more conservative than my one Democratic senator, and way to the right to John Fetterman. Your politics are dog shit. Your politics are beyond dog shit. And I will say that my governor is better than yours. Unfortunately, he has a much worse fucking state legislature. What's your excuse? Anyway, college football players are unionizing, and the first chapter will be at Penn State. The College Football Players Association is already in negotiations with the Big Ten. Led by quarterback Sean Clifford, players want revenue sharing and better medical care. That's right. Penn State is leading the unionization of college football. Oh, that's dope. You know, hopefully we can distract about what Penn State is also known for. I'm not a Penn Stater, so I don't have a dog in this fight. I'm just rooting for the unionization. Doesn't Joe Biden claim Scranton? Yeah, he does. The host of 5-4 never trusted the Supreme Court. With public confidence in the top judicial body at a record low, a leftist podcast is preaching to a growing choir. Hey, chat, is 5-4 actually leftist? I seem to remember them being like really institutionalist libs. I don't remember them being leftists. Am I wrong? For Rin and Hammond, it was a toss-up between Bush v. Gore and Castle Rock versus Gonzalez. When it came to what she considered the worst Supreme Court decision of the modern era, it's Citizens United. It's Citizens United. It's not even close. Citizens United. I guess you could say that Citizens United is the result of Bush v. Gore. They are very leftist. Doubt. Reversing a Florida Supreme Court order for a manual recount and effectively decided the 2000 presidential election. Castle Rock, on the other hand, spoke to its inhumanity, denying a mother whose 3 children were killed by her husband the right to sue police. Oh yeah, those are bad decisions. Dobbs v. Jackson. There's actually a worse decision. For me, it's the one, it's like, I think it's Gonzalez v. Texas, which is a very common case. Oh, here it is. This is the worst decision. This, to me, is one of the worst decisions of all time. It was San Antonio Independent School District versus Rodriguez. I don't know if the Gonzalez case is a different one. I'm stupid. I was reading Castle Rock, and I had a brain fart. Sorry, chat. This is the one I'm talking about. It's San Antonio Independent School District versus Rodriguez, which was, did Texas public education finance system violate the 14th Amendment's Equal Protection Clause by failing to distribute funding equally among its school districts? No. The court refused to examine the system with strict scrutiny since there is no fundamental right to an education in the Constitution. So in other words, you have no right to an education in our Constitution. So it's totally okay for your state to give all rich kids $1 million per pupil and have no public education for poor kids. That's legal. This is one of the worst decisions. And the guy who wrote it is a guy named Lewis Powell, and he was behind what was known as the Powell Memo. Have you guys ever heard of the Powell Memo? I've talked about it a lot on my stream before. But if you're one of the newer people, you might not have heard of it. You guys all know what the Powell Memo is? Basically, if you don't know what the Powell Memo is, basically it was what created Fox News, think tanks, like the fake scientists. It is the Powell Memorandum, Attack on the American Free Enterprise System. On August 23rd, 1971, less than 2 months before he was nominated to serve as Associate Justice of the Supreme Court, Lewis Powell mailed a confidential memorandum to his friend, Eugene B. Sandor, chair of the Education Committee of the U.S. Chamber of Commerce. The memo was titled Attack on the American Free Enterprise System and outlined ways in which businesses should defend and counterattack against a broad attack from disquieting voices. It basically explained how we're losing in academia, we're losing in the media and journalism. We need to create our own independent conservative education system, college professors, media. It was one of the most influential things to create stuff like Fox News, News Corp, Heritage Foundation, all that shit. The Koch brothers, all that stuff that's totally corrupted our society stems from this guy who wrote the decision that you don't have the right to an education in our Constitution. That, to me, was a turning point. I think that decision was like one of the ping moments in American history where when Nixon came into office, he appointed not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 Supreme Court judges. 4. And that was the end. That was the beginning of the end. According to an annual Gallup poll released in June, following the leak of the early draft of the Dobbs ruling, public confidence in the Supreme Court is plummeting. Only 25% of respondents said they had a great deal or quite a lot of confidence in the institution. Now, Democrats have a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to craft the court because the public has lost its faith. And what do? Rush to defend it. But for Hammond and his fellow podcast hosts, Michael Learorf and Peter, who's asked to be identified only by his first day because his employer is unaware of the podcast, you're fucked, dude. They're going to find out who you are. Hating the high court is nothing new. In fact, it's something of a calling. On 5-4, a show about how much the Supreme Court sucks, as announced in its tagline, they have spent more than 2 years and nearly 150 episodes ardently enumerating what they argue are its many sins and weaknesses. The approach, both profane and meticulous, has attracted a fast-growing audience of like-minded listeners. Since the beginning of the year, subscriptions to the 5-4 Patreon account have grown by over 30%, now bringing in more than 35,000 each month. First-day downloads of the podcast, which is produced and distributed by Prologue Projects, have more than doubled over the past 2 years, the company said, propelled by a series of court-related headlines, including the death of Ruth Bader Ginsburg and the Dobbs leak. In June, the month of the Dobbs decision, there were more than 400,000 downloads across the podcast catalog, up more than 90% from the same time last year. That's it? That's it? Dude, man, that's crazy. That's crazy. Hasan yesterday, I wanted to show you, just so you understand how unappreciated Twitch is. Hasan's stream yesterday had 678,000 views. One stream. This one had 831,000. I mean, if you go to my stream, hey, buddy, how are you? You looking good. If you go to mine, I mean, I had 20,000, 22,000, 24,000. Times that by 20. Anyway, the hosts themselves, three nobodies, as Heyman put it, have been embraced by the left-wing cognoscenti. Heyman, 33, has been featured on MSNBC in The Cut. This is how I know they're libs. That's how I know they're fucking libs. That's how I know they're libs. There's no fucking shot at their leftists. Elizabeth Warren, the progressive and professional senator from Massachusetts, self-described 5-4 fan. 5-4. She took us to school. Said the scourge of attention has been vindicated in a dark sort of way. For Learnoff, the growing popularity has made the podcast feel worthwhile. I think for a long time, much of the legal establishment and the Democratic Party have been tied to this mythical idea of the Supreme Court that has denied them the vocabulary and the framework to really understand what has been happening. Hopefully, we've played a small part in beginning to change that. In conversation, as on the show, the hosts are a bottomless well of sardonic judicial analysis. In a video interview last Wednesday, they debated whether the 9 justices is most worthy of contempt, whose opinions are the most painful to read, and pet ideas for reform. All want to expand the court by a minimum of 4 justices. Learoff suggested the regular appointment of additional justice every 2 years. Honest to God, I'm going to say something. They're all lawyers. So at the end of the day, they still believe the bullshit about a good court. The reality is that the court should not be relevant to politics. It should be debanged. It should be disempowered. It should have very little in the way of constitutional authority. It should have none, actually. Have faith in democracy and create one, an actual one, not the shit one we have. Their court, that means get rid of the fucking constitutional tribunal. Get rid of this garbage. Actually have a vote. Actually have a system that has 90% turnout. Actually have a system that has a proportional representation. Get rid of the Electoral College. Get rid of the Senate. Get rid of the House of Representatives in its current form. But that's too radical. The hosts believe that the institution's mystique allows fundamentally political actors to masquerade as enlightened and neutral arbiters. Every single judge is like that. Every person is like that. Everyone's a political actor. If you think you're apolitical, you're an actor of the status quo. Everyone is a political actor. I'll say that again. Everyone is a political actor. If you think you're apolitical, you're just a consenter of the status quo in support of the status quo. It's impossible not to be. It's a systemic problem baked into the structure of our democracy. Similar criticisms of the court have been made almost since its founding. Thomas Jefferson, a frequent antagonist of the federal judiciary, maligned its unelected judges as a subtle core of sappers and miners constantly working underground to undermine the foundations of our confederated fabric. The complaints of judicial overreach were once most commonly associated with conservatives, many of whom objected to a series of rulings in the 1950s and 60s that ended segregation and expanded civil rights. The reason why they objected to it is because they were at the head of a racial caste system and anti-democratic apartheid state. And because the court was the one that actually extended democracy, it was good in this case. But overall, it's bad. Homie, you should really listen to a program before shitting on their project. You're doing record shit. I just know they're fucking libs, dude. They're being recommended by MSNBC. I don't even need to know more. If you want to give me something that I could see that it's not, I mean, you have Elizabeth Warren and MSNBC. These people are not our allies. Like, honestly. They busted in like the Kool-Aid man and said it was over. I never knew if my vote counted. build a community of young left-leaning lawyers and law students who take a more pragmatic view of the court and the law. A Slack group for 5 Patreon subscribers filled with fans who consult the trio for advice, moral support, and the dark human of the commonly agree. What made us successful was our unique point of view. I'm not dumbing that down because I know someone from Senator Warren's office is listening. I hope the Democrats are sufficiently radicalized. They reform the court, expand it, and make our podcast obsolete. But I'm not very optimistic. I want to see their video. What was the video? They said they had a video of which is the worst Supreme Court judge. I want to see it. I love these professionally produced shit. Oh god, they have a deal. They have like a deal that probably buys advertising. Do they have videos? Was I lied to? All right, maybe if somebody can find it. I don't know. Maybe 5-4 is better. If you got any of you are 5-4 listeners, I'm not trying. I was shitting on them in general because I'm just very pessimistic about the idea that anything promoted by MSNBC is radical in any way. And I don't trust Elizabeth Warren fans. I didn't hear the word Bernie Sanders or AOC. If you don't hear anything about the squad or you don't hear anything about Bernie and someone says leftist, it's not leftist. Unless they're like radical communists, right? Like you could be to the left of Bernie and AOC, of course. Like, duh, they're milquetoast. They're milquetoast. But if you don't even have them mentioned, yeah, they're fucking, they're dog shit. Are you watching the stream unsubbed? You're making income inequality worse. You are doing anti-praxis. We are the only Twitch stream that will not accept scam advertisers, and I will never fuck you over by selling you crap.